Oh, I'm stupid. I'm sorry. Let's see if he gets the intro right tonight.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Monday night. That means Steven and I are talking movies.
Mm-hmm.
Movies. We got two good ones tonight to talk about.
We got one good one.
Well, we've got two tonight. How about that?
That's fair.
We'll meet in the middle. You know what? I made a spreadsheet, so I'm going to have to go ahead and pull that guy up.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah, Steven, what are we talking about? Let's go ahead and dive right into it. Let's go with the one that we're pretty sure is going to flop first.
Yeah.
So
that, of course, being Bloodshot.
or as I like to call it, Bloodshot.
Yeah. We're talking about, see, it's so bad I didn't even have it pulled up yet. Like, that's how shitty this movie was. We're talking about Bloodshot and Doctor Sleep. Those are the two movies we're talking about tonight. And if you didn't know that, it's because you're not following the Two Guys in a Trailer Instagram, which, yep, the handle is directly below us.
It absolutely
not
is.
below us, below us. So go over there, give that a follow. And every week I post movies that we'll be talking about on the show. So that gives you a chance to watch them beforehand.
To watch
If you
along.
haven't seen them, or if you need a refresher. Plus, it's not like you have anything else to do because we're all shut down.
Most of us are in quarantine.
Most of us are in quarantine. That's right. So, Bloodshot, a little bit of background info on this complete abortion of a film.
It has Dominic Toretto. Vin Diesel.
It's got Vin Diesel in it.
Yeah.
It's got Guy Pearce in it. And it's got some other people in it.
Who will always live in my mind as Dom from Fast and the Furious.
Oh, okay.
No matter what he's in.
And then it was directed by David S.F. Wilson. And if you look up David S.F. Wilson to be like, Mel, I wonder what other movies this guy's done, you'll find that he hasn't done anything else. He's credited with doing some scene work for like a Star Wars effects. Video game. Yeah. Like, that's the level of talent we're dealing with here. And they just decided to give him a movie with a budget of $45 million.
Jesus.
And the box office was 29.2, which really can't go by the box office because this is, of course, during the pandemic. So it was made for digitally on-demand release less than 2 weeks after its theatrical release. So it made $29 million in 2 weeks, which is about $29 million too much. Should have made jack shit, but people were probably just ready to go to the fucking theater.
Yeah, it should have made $29.
Yeah. Yeah, so this fucking movie, dude.
Where do we start with this one?
Here's the thing.
Okay.
And we both agree on this. The plot or the premise of the movie is a really cool premise.
It could be.
If it was executed correctly, the idea of like the nanotechnology, self-healing, and like a guy being put into a delusion, basically, right, to be turned into a weapon. I guess that's a pretty cool idea. But
it's very G.I. Joe-ish.
It is. So the movie basically follows a pretty. It sounds complicated. It's not, because everything is explained to you multiple times. Because this movie thinks that the audience is dumb. Like, that's what I got watching this movie, because it's like they have to show you everything, and then they tell you what they just showed you,
Yeah.
and then
Well,
they tell you again. Like,
here's the big gripe I have with this movie, right? Is if you take and you go with, let's just say, G.I. Joe, you take Wolverine, right? The first Wolverine movie, and you take, or actually, I'd say X-Men. So you take those two, and you throw in a little bit of the first Spider-Man movie as far as like the fight scenes and shit go. You kind of have this entire movie already, right? The most annoying part of this thing is the how heavily they relied on CGI. When we
yes,
look at a movie last week, 1917, that had CGI in it. And by the way, if you haven't seen the behind the scenes or the making of 1917, I went back and watched it, and dude, that is some trippy shit that they did.
it's mind blowing.
Uh, so when you take a movie like 1917 that did rely on some CGI at times, and then you look at it next to a turd like this, it's now I did want to ask you this, because about halfway through the movie, I was like, you know what? This is what people who don't like Michael Bay movies think Michael Bay movies look like,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Do you think Michael Bay could have turned this into a watchable film?
I think.
Now look
Don't
at his,
make me fucking compliment Michael.
look at his last piece that he did, Six Underground.
Here's the thing. He would have definitely been more apt to make this a better film. I still don't think it would have been a great film, because Michael Bay doesn't strive to make great films. He just doesn't. Like, that's not his goal. We've already discussed.
Well, he's not
that.
trying to win Sundance. He's trying to make a boatload of cash.
Yeah, he's just trying to make a fun, entertaining, dumb popcorn flick. It's like somebody releasing a really good jazz album versus fucking Justin Bieber. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I really thought you were going to say Metallica right there.
No, I would, but I'm not picking a fight.
I really thought you were going to
No.
take a dig at Metallica.
I was thinking about another band that you admire, but I'll leave them out of it for right now.
What, you gonna pull Pantera out your ass?
No, man, I would never do that.
I hope not.
I would ask for my nickels back before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think he probably could have done a better job directing this film. But this movie is stupid. That's the problem with this movie. Like, this movie's dumb. It had a cool premise, but they completely wasted. Like, if you actually, I went back and I watched the trailer for this movie. If you want to watch this movie, all you have to do is watch the trailer.
Exactly.
In 2 minutes, it tells you literally everything that happens in this movie, because that's all there is in this movie. There's no twist or anything. Literally everything in the trailer, that sums up the entire movie. So just watch the trailer and save yourself $20. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I would definitely say figure out a way to watch this for free if you have to go watch it, but under no circumstances should you pay money to see this.
Did you like the tone of this movie was all over the place. The opening scene, like, it starts out and you're like, okay, so it's like gritty, kind of like war, and then it goes into this weird action thing, and then it goes from that, and this is all the first 15 minutes of the movie, and then it goes from that and it goes to like a cheaply made Jared Jewelers She Said Yes commercial, and then it goes to like a sci-fi flick.
Yeah.
All within the first 15 minutes. And it's like,
and the transition is horrible.
yeah, there is no transition.
Yeah.
or when he's giving that speech when they get off the plane, he's like, "This is what we fight for," because Vin Diesel can't act.
Yeah.
So he just talks in a low, like grovelly voice and just stands there trying to look intimidating. But this is what we fight for. And then he walks off and it plays this fucking pop little guitar twangy riff. And then he's in love. And then it's so dumb.
Okay. So I'm going to draw a line of comparison. I want to see if you agree. Is Vin Diesel just this generation's Sylvester Stallone? Like big jack dude that can't fucking act for shit, but he got popular for no reason.
You know, Sylvester Stallone, I feel like, has been in a couple of movies where he's shown that he can actually act. I just think like he doesn't have to in the majority of movies that he's given.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, the first Rambo, that was a really good fucking movie.
Oh yeah.
And he did a great job in it. Like, also, I'd say like the first Rocky, the first two Rockies.
Dude, I hate to say it, as ridiculous as it sounds, I actually liked the remake of Rambo.
Oh yeah,
the one where he was in Burma and he's out there catching these wild king cobras and shit.
Yep.
Dude, that had some of the most graphic violence you'll ever see on a fucking film, man.
Oh
and
yeah,
it wasn't a horror movie.
Yeah, when he gets that fucking gun, that
dude, that
turret or whatever,
truck mounted 50, he's just yakking people,
cutting people in half. Yeah. So I don't think Vin Diesel gets that much credit. Like, I've never seen Vin Diesel in anything that he was like.
Yeah,
good.
like Triple X was trash.
It's trash.
What did he have to do for? I mean, the very first Fast and the Furious, you might be able to make the claim that there was a little bit of acting there, but it also felt like this dude's kind of playing himself.
Yeah.
So
every time he's in a film, he's literally, you're never like, wow, he really lost himself in that character. It's just, oh look, there's Vin Diesel.
He's not Heath Ledger and the Joker.
When it's Chronicles of Riddick, it's like, oh, there's Vin Diesel and he's wearing sunglasses and he's got a tank top on.
Mm-hmm.
Or look, there's Vin Diesel driving a fast car and they're filming it. Like,
yep.
I've never, I don't know. I didn't like anything about this movie. Like 100%. I thought it was really bad. And the final fight scene is a 100% CGI Vin Diesel and another guy with robot arms and legs falling down an elevator shaft, and CGI Vin Diesel punching CGI other guy in the face as they're falling down an elevator shaft. So, what?
Yeah, it's like a fight scene out of Ninja Turtles.
It looks like a video game fight scene.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because the guy has only done video game shit. So, it's a pat. Like, just don't watch it.
Yeah.
Like, at least don't spend money to watch it.
So we got to rate it.
Yeah, man. Maybe a 2. And I think that's being generous.
Yeah, I'm the whole time I was watching this, I was like, yeah, it's not a 5 because the opening 10 minutes is hard to watch. And then the following 10 minutes is not any easier. And I'm like, okay, this is definitely not a 4. And about halfway through this, I had my mind made up that like, this is a 2 at best.
Yeah.
At best. Because there were some redeeming qualities. Like the fact that a flour truck jackknifed, and every time he would run, or, he's running into this barrage of bullets, every time he touched something or ran into somebody, there was that explosion effect that would naturally happen if you stepped in a 280-pound man running full speed. You step in a pile of flour, it's going to fucking explode under your feet. So, like, stuff like that looked cool. Some of the fight scenes were okay. The one where he's fighting them outside the flour truck, that one was okay, except it had that fucking slow motion into fast motion into slow motion, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but like some of the stuff was pretty decent. Altogether, the parts that were shot using actual people with no CGI were shot pretty well. Like the colors were all there. It looked good. There's one part where they're on a fucking pier, and it's a visually appealing shot. So I mean, it's not all bad, but it's definitely a 2 at best.
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah.
So Bloodshot gets a grand ole 4, which puts it half a point below Dude Bro Party Massacre 3.
Exactly where it should be.
Which movie would you rather watch again?
Probably Dude Bro Party Massacre. At least I had fun with that one.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah. I mean, at least that one made me laugh a couple times. So, Bloodshot, meh.
Yeah, pass.
Don't. But now, for the good movie that we watched this week, Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep.
Came out in 2019. It is based off of the 2013 novel, Dr. Sleep, written by Stephen King. Which the novel serves as a sequel to a little novel you may have heard of called The Shining.
And that's where I want to stop you. I don't like sequels. I don't like the term sequel. I look at this movie as a continuation because it literally, the first 1 minute, I don't know what, minute and a half, 2 minutes of the movie are from the fucking Shining. They're just remade with the new actors and actresses.
Yep.
So this to me is a continuation.
Yeah, I was talking about the novel.
Oh yeah.
The novel was a sequel to,
but it should be a continuation as well.
Yeah, I haven't read it. I don't read books.
It's a book.
It's a fucking book. So let's see. Directed by Mike Flanagan and starring.
What has he done?
Let's see. I haven't looked that up. Somebody that was more prepared probably would already know that. Okay, he did Oculus, Ouija, Origin of Evil, Gerald's Game, and Dr. Sleep. So he's I guess a newer filmmaker. But this movie stars Ewan McGregor, Rebecca Ferguson, and some other people that I don't know. And it had a budget of $45 million, and the box office returns were $72.3 million. So it was a success, financial success. And like you said, basic plot is it's a continuation of The Shining. So it follows certain characters, really mainly just one.
Yeah.
For the most part, Danny. Yeah, it follows his story after the events of The Shining. So,
yeah.
What were your thoughts?
Okay. So, just what I said earlier was this being a continuation. They went to it wasn't the actual final scene from The Shining, but it's pretty close to the end of the movie. It's almost at the conclusion. But they pick up at that point, and it's all remade with modern cameras, modern tech, the whole 9 yards, and the actors who play Jack Nicholson's character, the kid Danny, and the kid's mother. So it picks up in the bathroom with the here's Johnny scene kind of deal, and that first scene grabbed me because it was like, is that the original girl?
Yeah.
That character was cast more perfectly than you could have ever imagined casting that. The kid who played child-sized Danny looked exactly like the kid who originally played Danny as a child. And Danny looked exactly like Jack Nicholson. And whoever the fuck they picked to play Jack Nicholson's role in this movie fucking looks exactly like him.
He did a great job.
So
they really all did, yeah.
Just that one part of the opening sequence of the movie had me like, okay, they took the time to get characters that look almost identical. Like it's really hard to tell the difference. They're using the same floor, like the carpet that he's riding his tricycle on, same carpet, down the same hallway, into the same room. There's still red rum written on the door. There's still the door pane is busted out. So like they, from my standpoint, they fucking started it out the only way they could have started it out, by going back and giving you a little snippet of this is what happened, because we're talking a 30, almost 40-year-old movie. You know, I think Shining was made in 80, right?
Yeah, yeah, you're
Something
talking
like that.
right at
So
40 years.
yeah, so right at 40 years old. Oh my God. But that we're talking about a 40-year-old movie. It's going to be hard to find that carpet and that room style and all, but they played it down to the fucking T. So that got me interested right off the rip. And the fact that he plays a drug addicted alcoholic who's trying to drown out the Shining, right? The voice in his head. That, like, after watching The Shining, you always, everybody I've ever talked to said, I don't know what happened after that, but I guarantee you that kid was fucked up for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And this just goes to prove this kid was fucked up for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But they brought back, and I can't remember his name from the original film, but the black guy that taught Danny in The Shining about Shining, they brought a character in that looked identical to him.
Yeah.
To play his kind of ghost godfather or mentor or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of character carryover. Now, one of the things that I did not like about this movie, I was not a huge fan of the steam, right? The steam kind of was, I think they could have went with blood and been much better off, because how do you get the steam in them fucking jars? It doesn't make sense. She's got to breathe it in, but she can breathe it out. But if all the other people breathe it in, they don't breathe it out. So I don't quite understand that, right? So I think if they had went with blood or something like that, the blood of people who have this ability, I think it would have been a little bit more easily believable. However, that is literally the only thing that turns me off about this movie.
And I think probably, yeah, I'm just guessing. I bet the reason they went with that, and like I said, I haven't read the book, so I don't know. It could be the exact same in the book. Probably is. But I think it would have been really hard to pull off that, because the people that they're killing, it's all a bunch of kids. So you got to have
stabbed the fucking kid to death in the goddamn parking lot.
They do, and that's a fucking rough scene, dude. But I'm just saying, like, okay, you have a dead fucking 8-year-old kid, and steam starts coming up, and they breathe that. I think it's a lot easier to convince a film company
absolutely
that they need to back that versus, all right, so they're going to kill this 8-year-old kid, and then we're going to have them slit their throat and then start draining some blood into a jar. Yeah. Like, shit.
Or just hanging them upside down and lopping their head off and bloodletting them like a pig.
Like that's going to be a lot harder to make a studio exec sign off on.
And I get it. When you look at it from that point, I get it. But I just, Brittany says it's their souls. I don't know. I that was the only thing that I didn't quite get about the whole thing, is like, why would they do that when blood is much more powerful than some mystical vape that comes out of their fucking mouth, I didn't understand it. But all in all, man, I think the premises of the movie was great. The fact that it's a continuation of one of my top 5 movies of all time, I mean, it automatically gained an extra 2 points in my book. But it's a psychological thriller. I wouldn't call this a horror movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it definitely has thriller elements to it, right? And
And the supernatural.
yeah, so I would say it's more of a psychological slash supernatural thriller, uh, which is just it's just beautiful. I think it's well done. It's well shot. The plot's great. The characters were great. The biggest other than the steam that they breathe out of these kids' mouth, uh, the fact that that bitch laid on her back, rolled over, and looked at one of my favorite characters in this movie and said, "Kill yourself," and he turned around and fucking pops a hole in his head.
Yeah.
That hurt my feelings. I was like, "No!
Yeah.
Oh, you fucking bitch!"
Yep. Dude, well, she did a phenomenal job in this movie.
Yeah, she killed it, dude.
Like that whole storyline. Like, because I went into this movie the first time I watched it, and like I had no idea where it was going to go. Right? I figured it was just going to be centered around Danny and him going through how fucked up his life was, and probably having to deal with ramifications from what happened in The Shining, which it is. But there's this whole other storyline of what are they called? The something not
The what?
the group of the vampire, the group. What are they?
Oh,
The
I
Knot?
didn't even know the name of them.
Something like the Knot or some shit like that. But that whole storyline was really fucking cool in the way it tied in with the young girl that is talking to Danny through the Shining or whatever. I thought the way that they incorporated all of that was really fucking cool, and I love the fact that the movie starts out at the hotel and it goes back to the hotel at the end.
Well, the entire story from the beginning in The Shining, the hotel is just as much a character as Danny or his mother or Jack Nicholson's character.
Oh yeah, yeah,
it is the central location for the entire reason this kid is why he is, right? Why he's a fucked up junkie who's a degenerate piece of shit.
yeah. Like that
It-
opening scene where he hooks up with that chick and she's got her
yeah,
baby there.
who'd have thought she died?
Yeah. But he takes, if I try to remember exactly how it plays out, but like he takes the money, he goes to take the money from her as she's sleeping or whatever. Or
No, she was dead.
She's dead. And then there's a fucking baby, right, in the
Yeah.
next room or whatever, and he still just fucking takes the money and takes off. It's like,
Yeah, just
It's
gives the kid a
complete-
bag of fucking Cheetos and sits her on the bed.
yeah, yeah. It's fucking crazy because I mean, there's a lot of it's a really character driven film. Like it has to be, I guess, because the main interest is what would happen to Danny. Like that's the main interest of the film. But I think if it was just that, it wouldn't be as good as when they threw in these other elements. It had to have something surrounding it to tie everything together, I guess. Is what I'm
And the character from the beginning, it's going to drive me nuts to not know what this guy's name was. But the guy that taught Danny about The Shining, was, dude, his literal name is Scatman Carruthers.
nice.
What the fuck?
That could be on his birth certificate. That literally.
And Benjamin was his given name. So he played oh, come on, man. Come on, man. Where's this damn movie at?
Carl Lumbly.
Halloran.
Are you talking about the guy from Doctor Sleep, or are you talking about the guy from The Shining?
No, The Shining.
Oh, okay, I'm talking about the guy
Halloran is what they list his name on IMDb as. But either way it goes,
Yeah.
his character that comes back, right? In the original Shining movie, there's one little part that sets up the fact that this movie can even exist. And he's sitting there talking to Danny, and they're talking in their head to one another, right? They're using The Shining to talk to one another, and Danny says, "Well, does everybody shine?" And he says, "No, but some people do more than others." Right? So that allows for there to be layers to um to the strength of your shining, right?
Yeah.
You can shine at a level 1 or a level 10, right? And everywhere in between. So I think they took that one little line that was in there and they said, okay, that will allow us to go up and this girl, and the girl, dude, she played that role fantastically.
Oh yeah.
Fantastically.
Yep.
But the big twist is, and I thought this was the big twist, the guy goes after the main girl, and again, I don't know her name either, but I don't remember it at least. But the main character sends her henchman out after this girl that's like the super shine, right? And she's sitting there while the other guys are away, and she's remote viewing, like watching them kill all of these fucking bad guys. And she's like, I don't see the raccoon. I don't see the raccoon. Right in the neck, and he got her. Now he had told the girl, I got some tricks up my sleeve too.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought that whole scene was really well done, and the way it played out was done. This whole movie, dude, was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was so well done.
Yeah. It was complex, but it wasn't like overly complex, like that you can't follow it. It was interesting. It was entertaining. It. I don't even remember how long it was. It was probably about 2.5 hours. And I watched the
It was
director's.
2.5.
Yeah, I watched the director's cut. So I think mine was closer to 3 hours, but it didn't.
No, it was 2 hours and 49 minutes because I watched the director's cut too.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
we're right, yeah, a little over 2.5 hours. But it's great. It holds the time well. It keeps your interest. It takes time establishing the characters so that when shit starts hitting the fan, you give a shit.
Yeah.
Like
Well, you get emotionally invested in the character.
yeah, and the story.
Yeah.
Like you want to see how it's going to play out with Danny. Like you kind of want to. You're hoping for some sort of him kind of finally being able to come to terms with everything that he's gone through and stuff, and like some sort of redemption. And I think the movie does a good job of letting that character achieve that for the most part.
Yeah.
And then the ending where he's still able to communicate with the girl, like I really like this movie a lot.
Well, it's also one of those movies that came full circle, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know, but in the original Shining movie, the Scatman Carruthers, the black guy, could only be seen and heard by Danny. He was a figment of Danny's imagination. Nobody else in the movie saw him. None of the other adults saw him.
Right.
Right? There's no direct interaction with any of the other adults. So he's kind of Danny's shining mentor, right? So the fact that Danny then sacrifices himself to close the final door at the Overlook Hotel, and because he did that, he comes full circle, and now he is the new girl's Scatman Carruthers.
Yeah, he's the mentor.
Yeah, nobody sees him, but he's there. He becomes the mentor, which I thought was, look, I'm gonna jump straight to the rating. I'm giving this one a 4.5. And the only reason I'm not going to give it a 5, and like legit, the only reason I'm not going to give it a 5 is because of the soul thing. Like every time the soul shit happened, it just, I was like, I could have done without that.
Yeah.
You know, that's literally the only reason. If it hadn't have been for that, or they had figured out some other way to integrate taking energy from other taking the shine from somebody else, I think this would have been a 5 all day.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it probably the same.
4.5.
Yeah, I think this it surprised me. Like it surprised me how good it was because this only could have went like one of two ways. Either it it adds to The Shining, or it's just it tarnishes the fucking legacy of the original, and it succeeds in adding to it. Like it built on a a set of characters and ideas that were already there present in the first, but it also added to it. It added another storyline that I found interesting and intriguing. It's shot really well. It's acted really well from the bottom up. Like everyone in this movie does a really good job. So I don't know why I'm not giving it a 5. I don't have a problem with anything in the movie. I just don't think it's a 5.
Well, I'll tell you another reason I don't think it's a 5. Because this is not a standalone movie. In my opinion, this movie needs context. It needs the context of The Shining before this can be digested easily. And the reason, I think a lot of the reason that you and I hold this movie in such high regard is because we both like The Shining. Right? I think we were talking earlier. This is definitely inside of our top 5 without question.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, we have the proper context to understand why this is the way it is. And I don't think if you sat down and watched this with no prior knowledge of The Shining, or that this was a continuation, you would be sitting there looking at the scene where he goes back to the hotel and he's sitting there in front of a glass and his father pops up in front of him. The apparition of his father pops up. And that whole scene would be lost on you.
Yeah.
The fact that his father was a raging alcoholic that decided to give it up and go to this hotel to write a book. You would never understand the reason why there's a typewriter in the middle of this giant hall, right? One of my favorite scenes from The Shining is Jack Nicholson throwing this fucking tennis ball, God knows how far, to hit a wall. And because I always felt like, dude, that'd be awesome if you could fucking play wall ball inside your house. That would be dope, you know? So you have to have context for this movie to make all the sense.
Yeah, and it may not even like it's hard to put myself in those shoes, right? Like if I hadn't seen The Shining, would I be able to understand? I think the movie does a good enough job of explaining everything without being ham-fisted in the way that it does it, that I think somebody that hasn't watched The Shining could watch this movie and understand what's going on, but you're not gonna have an appreciation for everything that you're seeing.
Yeah.
The context, it's not that the context is necessary for you to understand the movie. It's that it's necessary for you to appreciate the movie fully.
Absolutely.
Because like you said, there are going to be scenes that you're going to be like, why the fuck is this dude that looks like Jack Nicholson standing behind a bar right now talking to this guy? Like,
yeah,
what's going on? Oh, that's his father? Well, that's weird. Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to miss some stuff.
Yeah. Or what is the significance of room 237?
Right.
They show a specific room 237. They show that specific room multiple times in the film. And without the context of The Shining, you have no idea why this room holds any significance.
Yeah.
So you also don't understand the significance of the boiler room, or the giant maze. Like, where does that come from? Where's this? Why are they in some kind of giant fucking overgrown, hedge maze?
Yeah.
Well, that was the attraction feature of the Overlook Hotel, is their giant maze. Yeah. So I think there definitely has to be context to completely understand this movie. But that being said, you and I have the context, and I think that also leads to why we hold this movie to such high regard.
Yeah.
So, and huge kudos to Ewan McGregor. I don't think he has ever done a role that was this good. I think this is a career-defining role for him.
Yeah. I would have to agree. I think he gave. I can't think of a performance he's given that's better than this. I mean, he was Obi-Wan Kenobi, but even then, I don't think he was as good as he was on this.
Not even close.
No.
Not even close.
Nobody has ever argued that the acting in Star Wars is what makes it good. But that will be reserved for some time in the future.
Yeah. In like next month.
Yeah. But that, I guess, does it for these two movies. However, we actually know what we're going to be talking about next week already. We're on the fucking ball.
Yeah, luckily enough. So next week we're going to do Ford versus Ferrari and Underwater, which I got to tell you, I fucked up and didn't remember what we were supposed to watch this week, so I went ahead and watched Underwater on Sunday. I'm going to be really interested to see what Steven thinks about Underwater, because I can tell you this. I am not, under any circumstances, a fan of Kristen Stewart as an actress, right? She's a cute chick, but not, she's the Vin Diesel of the female acting world.
Jesus.
But I don't think
stands there and looks miserable all the time.
But I don't think you could have cast anybody else for the role that she plays. I think you are going to be very, very. I'm very intrigued to see what you think about Underwater. So
I haven't watched it yet, but I'll be sure to watch it this week, and you guys will need to tune in next week.
Yep.
To find out my thoughts. And
yep. So we're gonna watch Underwater and Ford versus Ferrari. So if you guys want to watch those with us, we'll be back here Monday night. So again, Bloodshot. Don't waste your time. Watch Doctor Sleep twice.
Hell yeah! Actually, watch The Shining and then watch Doctor Sleep.
Absolutely, watch. So take the time you were gonna watch Bloodshot and watch The Shining, and then watch Doctor Sleep.
Oh my god.
Tessa Garlington, I should literally take your wrench away.
Take the wrench away.
For saying things like that.
I'm telling you, I told you it was abuse of power.
Nope, yeah. I stand by my decision.
Well,
stand by my decision. She should have the power to kick you out of the room. But that's what we've got. Thanks for hanging out. We will see you guys next week.
Later, guys.
Did she literally just say Twilight is a masterpiece?
Yeah, I think she mistyped. What she meant to say was, "I'm an idiot."